Hi, hello. This is Andre reporting for Inside EVs from Copenhagen, where I'm attending the international launch of the new Mercedes CLA, the fully electric version, because there's also going to be a hybrid. This fancy compact electric sedan is hugely important for Mercedes because it not only has many innovations that other Mercedes EVs don't have, but it also shows the direction going forward where Mercedes EVs are going to look very similar to their combustion counterparts. Mercedes proudly says that this is its first true software-defined vehicle, or SDV. This is a recent buzzword that we've been hearing a lot about, which means exactly what you think it does. The car is basically a computer on wheels where code trumps camshafts. Most SDVs have so far come from China, but Western OEMs are finally catching up, and the fact that the CLA is one is a big deal. This is one of the most efficient new EVs on the market thanks to a super slippery body, an 800-volt platform, and a 2-speed transmission on the rear motor, just like a Taycan. The car I'm driving today is the 250 Plus, so it's the single motor car with a 268 horsepower motor driving the rear wheels and the big 85 kilowatt-hour battery pack. This is rated at a very impressive 792 kilometers on the WLTP test cycle, which is this much in miles, and I would say it's around 20% more optimistic than its future EPA rating, because this car is going on sale in the US. Even though it has a single motor powertrain, it should still sprint to 100 kilometers per hour or 62 miles per hour in 6.7 seconds. So let's see what that feels like. I'm gonna put it in sport. You even get a nice futuristic whooshing sound or spaceship type sound to accompany the acceleration, which I quite like. I mean, fully silent EVs do their own thing, and that's fine, but it's nice to have something to accompany the acceleration, I think. So this is the first car on Mercedes' new MMA platform, which will underpin a wagon variant of this, as well as two crossovers that are essentially going to replace the EQA and EQB. And on first impressions, this rear-wheel drive setup is really fun. This road is fantastic, and I'm actually enjoying myself. The steering is positive, the suspension is firm, but it's not uncomfortable by any stretch of the imagination. Frankly, it's an amazingly well-judged suspension setup. It's very supple over bumps, although it's hard to judge here because Danish roads are really smooth, but it feels very well judged. Some cars feel overly harsh in the quest for outright sportiness, but not this. It's still very agile, and it goes where you point it. It's very engaging to drive. The steering is positive, it's not too sharp, but it feels surprisingly connected. I wonder if the dual motor car has a bit less feel through the steering because the front wheels also have to transmit power to the road. But this variant that I'm driving today is really nice. There's not much body roll, and the car just gives you confidence to push. I even chirped the tires there, even though I'm not sure if you can turn off the traction control. I don't think you can, to be honest. As a driving experience, I think it's very accomplished, and not only when you want to have a bit of fun, but also just as a commuter car, because let's face it, that's the role that most people envision for this. They're gonna buy it to commute to work or take it to the shops on the weekend to, do the weekly shopping. And it's a very accomplished car. It certainly feels grown up compared to the previous CLA generations, which were fine, they were good, but this just takes it up a notch. And the same can be said of the interior ambiance. This is easily the best interior in a CLA, and it's an area where the first two generations were maybe lacking a bit, especially the first one. It felt kind of cheap compared to the rest of the Mercedes lineup, but honestly, it's no longer the case. I mean, you get hard plastics even in a lot more expensive Mercedes models than this, so it's not something we expect to change very soon. So the fact that they are hard in the CLA as well is no surprise. And on the flip side, it's very well built. Everything is very solid. Nothing in here feels flimsy. The driving position is a bit higher than in the previous two CLA generations, but you still feel like you're fairly low in the car and you feel connected to it. You don't feel like you're perched on top of the car, which is what I feel when I drive some new EVs, where the seat just doesn't go low enough. You can really bring the steering wheel close to you so that your wrist rests on the top of the wheel, which means it's close and you have a nice almost 90-degree-ish angle here. I'm 6 foot tall, and I'm finding it very comfy behind the wheel. The seats are very good. I've driven this car for a few hundred kilometers and I have no backaches. And this feels like the kind of car that I could take on a very long journey, which I can because it's a very long range EV. The steering wheel in my AMG line tester is typical of all AMG and AMG line Mercedes models. It's just like you would find in a much more expensive AMG line Mercedes with the same swipey, touchy controls on the wheel, which are better than other controls of this type, but they're still not as good as physical buttons. We keep droning on about this, but it's an important point, and the manufacturers finally seem to be getting it. Behind the wheel there are two stalks. The left one handles the indicator and the wipers, while on the right you control the transmission, so you can put the car into drive or reverse. And by pressing on it, you actually stop the car. You don't just put it in park. This turns off the car. It even has the on-off symbol here on the end of the stalk. You can also adjust brake regeneration through the left stalk by pushing it away from you to reduce recuperation. So now it says no recuperation, and if I lift off, we're actually getting closer to the car in front because we're coasting. Normal recuperation is what most people will probably use because it's similar to what you feel in a typical gas car, I guess. And if you pull it toward you again, it moves into strong recuperation, which is one pedal driving. The car also has an intelligent brake recuperation mode that adapts depending on what's in front of you and what's around you. So while in normal recuperation mode, the car will gradually slow down and then creep forward. If you put it in strong recuperation, it will actually stop on its own without you touching the brakes, which I feel is a must in this day and age. And most EVs offer this feature. One pedal driving is kind of a big deal with EVs, even though if you've never driven one, it might take a bit of getting used to. Once you get used to it, you won't want to drive the way you did before. And gas cars without this feature will feel weird. So I'm gonna lift off, not touching the brake, and the car stops. And it's very, very gradual and smooth. And smoothness is one of the key characteristics of this car. This is another area where it beats its predecessors hands down. Sure, they were refined, but they weren't as refined as the next models up in the Mercedes lineup. But in this, I honestly feel no difference in smoothness, in the way the car accelerates. It feels like an expensive car, which it should, because it's not gonna be cheap. But then again, new car prices are crazy, so what can you do? That's the state of the world these days, unfortunately. You cannot get the CLA with adaptive dampers, but after testing it over a wide range of roads, even though, as I said, they are quite smooth in Denmark, it's a very, very well-judged compromise for a daily that's also a bit sporty. The exterior design will leave you in no doubt as to what you're looking at. This is still a CLA. It sits a bit taller than its predecessors, but that's because it has to house a battery in its belly. The suspension looks like it's a bit tall, so the car looks like it's riding a bit high, and this is also because of the battery pack. In the hybrid version, which has a different floor pan to this, you will observe two changes. It sits lower to the ground, it has a lower ride height, and there's a bit more rear footwell room. So I got to see both, and in this, the floor is a bit higher than in the hybrid. For a 6-footer with long legs like myself, it does push my knees higher than I would like. But I have plenty of knee room in the back. It's definitely a roomier car overall than its predecessor. The trunk capacity is 405 liters or 14.3 cubic feet, and the Frunk is about a quarter of that capacity, similar to what you get in a Porsche 911, which is pretty good. This is a practical car for sure. You get quite a bit of storage. There are big door pockets. Unfortunately, they are not lined in felt, which I would like to see in a car from Mercedes-Benz or from any premium manufacturer, because it just adds a touch of class and your stuff doesn't rattle in there, or not as much. The central armrest cubby is a bit small, but it's quite deep, and you have a floating center console with an additional storage space here. This is open. You can put a lot of stuff in it. I was charging my mirrorless camera in there, and I had a lot of space to put other stuff next to it, and it didn't fall out, so I think it's pretty good. The glove box is a bit small, but I feel like glove boxes have been quite neglected in recent years, and they're getting smaller and smaller as manufacturers strive to find additional space in the car, like in the center console, in the doors, under the dash in some cases. My AMG line tester has a black headliner, and the black of the headliner goes well with the blackness of the rest of the cabin and the red details like the red seat belts, the red contrasting stitching, and it all looks really, really AMG and sporty. One big thing with this new CLA is the operating system. It's called MB.OS, and it's the next step in Mercedes' line of infotainment systems. It's a completely new system, and it works great, to be honest. You can get it with either 2 screens, like in my tester, or with an additional 3rd screen in front of the passenger. I've been playing around with it, and it's very, very responsive. The graphics are great. You can pinch to zoom on the map, and it loads up very quickly, which I like. You can get apps, you can play games, you can add functionality in the future. Mercedes has designed this system with updates in mind. So if you buy this car, you will get new features.
I heard Mercedes-Benz makes good cars.
Yes, Mercedes-Benz does make good cars. It also has an AI-powered intelligent voice assistant, which is pretty intelligent, but sometimes it's also kind of dumb. It's like it pretends it doesn't understand your questions. Isn't that right, Mercedes?
How may I help you?
Do you think the new CLA 2025 is a good car?
Sorry, could you say that again, please?
I was asking if you think the Mercedes CLA, the 3rd generation, is a good car.
I don't have the information you're looking for yet. Let me know if there is anything else I can help you with. For accuracy, please check the information in the owner's manual.
Where can I get a good kebab in Copenhagen?
East Kebab is a great choice for kebabs in Copenhagen. It's a small spot in a brigade that offers a luxury twist on the classic kebab. Reviews mention very good Durham wraps and kebab boxes loaded with meat. Would you like to go there?
No, I would like you to tell me what some typical Danish foods are. What should I get that is typically Danish and I couldn't find it anywhere else?
In Denmark, smørrebrød is a traditional open-faced sandwich that is a must-try. Another speciality is a blæskedder, which are small, spherical pancakes often enjoyed during the Christmas season. Have you ever tasted Danish pastries known for their light and flaky layers?
While I do love the quality, the build quality is very good. Materials are mostly good, as I said, except for, the hard stuff that you cannot avoid these days. I'm not convinced by the layout of the dashboard itself. It's essentially a slab in front of you with either 2 or 3 screens, and this is going to be rolled out across the entire Mercedes lineup. Unfortunately, I would say, because while it is a fresh take on designing a dashboard, let's say, and it's minimalist and simple and all of that, it kind of doesn't have the craftsmanship of older Mercedes generations, even the previous 2 CLAs. And I think something has been lost here. Another thing I don't like is that there are only 2 buttons to control all 4 electric windows. Yeah, they're still of the sexy frameless variety, so Mercedes calls this a coupe even though it's a 4-door. But in order to control the rear windows, you have to press a button here marked rear, and then you can open them, which is a bit of cost cutting that I'm not very happy to see, but some cars have this. Some, for instance, Volkswagen MEB cars have this. So while today I've been a bit more generous with the Go Pedal application, and I've been driving it a bit more briskly just to see what it feels like from an enthusiast standpoint, I guess, and I've been averaging 16.7 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. Yesterday I drove it a lot more sedately, and I kept it out of sport mode for most of the time. And today I drove it in sport mode, and I got an average of 13.7 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. It probably could have been even lower. So while, the 792 kilometer WLTP range rating seems, a bit far-fetched maybe, although Mercedes has achieved more in testing, but it was in controlled conditions and whatnot. I think this is a genuine 600 kilometer car in the real world without trying to, drive it efficiently and preserve electrons. My tester with the bigger 85 kilowatt hour NMC battery pack, there's also a 58 kilowatt hour LFP pack, which you will get in the base car, but this bigger pack can charge at up to 320 kilowatts, which is very good. EV charging advances very quickly, and 320 kilowatts is good, it's great, but it's not outstanding anymore. It's more than the Tesla Model 3, for instance, which I think, even in spite of all of the stuff that has been going on, is still this car's main rival, because it's just a very, very good and capable car. So it charges quicker than that. And Mercedes wants to take another page out of Tesla's book and offer its own proprietary and partner charging. And as you know, if you set your destination, a certain destination, the car will, just like in other manufacturers' cases, the car will pick charging spots for you along the way to maximize efficiency. And if it's a Mercedes partner charging station, it will reserve the charging spot 15 minutes before you get there, and it will hold it for you actually, which is pretty cool. And it will start preconditioning the battery without you having to do anything as you approach it. So by the time you reach the charger, the battery will be at the correct temperature to allow it to accept, the maximum charging power. Overall, I like the CLA because it gets the basics right. It has good range, good charging, good power, it drives well, it has smart tech, and it looks good. It's also practical, and if you want even more practicality, you can get the wagon version. Well, not if you're in the US, unfortunately. And I think it's a real contender in the compact executive electric sedan segment. And I can't wait to get one back home to spend more time with it, live with it for a while, and see just how good it is. Thank you for watching.